What is up, everybody, and welcome to the Real Talks podcast. My name is Mike Singletary.
And I am Frank Chen, and we are going to be your hosts. And what we're going to do is break down what it takes to live life on your terms through entrepreneurship, specifically real estate investing.
So we're going to hit it hard, the good, the bad, and the real, because that climb, as any entrepreneur knows, is never smooth. So let's get real.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Real Talks podcast. And I'm excited to bring you a great guest today. And usually we're talking about houses and we're talking about strategy and mindset. And what separates today's call from all the other ones that we're going to be focusing on an asset that most people feel aren't worth anything, or it's just not a good investment strategy, or plain and simple, they just don't even know about it or all the possibilities. So if you're here today, you're about to learn about how land flipping can really outpace some house flippers. And who we have here with us today is Mr. Ray Zhang. And he moved to this country 11 years ago. And what it was interesting about his story is that he was homeless when he first got here. And after many years of struggling, and about 5 years ago, he actually stumbled across a strategy of land investing where he currently now only does about 2 to 3 hours a day of work and makes roughly around 7 figures a year doing land completely virtual with a very, very small team. And I think right now it's about 1 VA, right? Yeah. And what's really interesting about Ray's story is that it's not that he didn't try to go down the route of house flipping. He actually spent at least 150 grand on different programs and coaching. And really all he got in return was frustration, overwhelm, and doubt. And I think that's really relatable to a lot of people who are trying to get into real estate and trying to figure out, where do I begin? But on that journey, within 4 years, he was able to complete 300 land deals. And that really kind of set his pace to where he is today. But more importantly, it's really provided a ultimate lifestyle now for him. It's kind of the American dream. He's a phenomenal father, a present dad, and of course, an amazing husband. You know, I think that's why a lot of us do what we do, is to provide for our families. And it's really cool that he's has this kind of background and now has created this lifestyle for his family. It's, again, truly, truly an American dream. The reason why I personally wanted on you here, Ray, is both us being Chinese. I know, very different backgrounds coming through to this, but you've reached a level of success that is really just quite impressive. And I would love to just dive in and figure out, what do you have to say to all the house flippers out there, right? Why land flipping, and what's wrong with house flipping?
Yeah, thank you, Mike. Thank you, Frank, to invite me here. And I think the thing with houses is it's very hard to get into those when you first started, because you have this big mega investors in your area, and that they dominate the area already with a lot of direct mail or cold calling or text message. And sometimes it's really hard to get into that, right? And for me, when I first started, it wasn't hard for majority of the areas. But when I was in Hawaii, that was hard for me, because Hawaii market is kind of different than the mainland. And I just have to figure out a way to make it work. I tried different, strategies, houses, apartments. It never worked out very well for me. So I was like, what should I do? And then I see this land opportunity, because I can do it completely virtually. I don't need to be anywhere, and I can be anywhere, flip land, and I can also flip anywhere in the mainland. So that kind of attract me. And the most important thing is people don't have much emotions towards land. I got a message yesterday. Well, my students got 2 land for free, and each of them were 30 to 45 grand.
That's crazy.
When did you hear people give a house for free? Right.
What would you say is one of the main reasons? Because I've heard this before with other land flippers out there. Is what situation are most people in where they're like, you know what, just take this off my hands. I don't want to deal with this anymore. I'll give you you could buy it for me for $1. What's actually going on in their life where they would consider that?
Yeah, I just bought a land for $1 about last month. I'm closing it next week. That's Tuesday. And after all the closing costs, I'm in about 1,500, and that land worth about 17,000.
Do you self-close those, right?
No, I use a title company.
Oh, you do? Always?
Yeah. Because I don't want to, that's a must because it was in Georgia. You have to hire a real estate attorney to close it. Otherwise, I will self-close.
Got it.
Yeah. But the thing about the reason behind it is people hate it so much and that they don't do nothing. For house, you can rent it out, so you can get some cash flow, right? But
Yeah.
when did you hear, I rent my land out, maybe to the farmers, but what if there's a land in the middle of the cities? What do you do with it, right? So the land grow on trees. There's a lot of weeds, and the city gave them tickets for not be able to clean it, and there's a HOA fee on top of it. Some land,
Really?
yeah, and so that costs money, and they just hate it so much. That guy, normally if you think about it, you don't pay HOA for many years, and maybe you give it out, right? But he told me I just pay the HOA off. The property taxes are all current. Everything cost me about 1,000 each year. Um, I just paid off, so you don't have any dues, and I just want to sell it to you for $1.
Wow.
Man, Ray, I'm so glad to have you on because we just got rolled into the land space completely, 100%, probably about 6 months ago. We've been dabbling in it about a year, and it is just like you said, a totally different animal. Like there is no emotion because we have this big elaborate sales process with houses and trying to dig into the motivation and all this other stuff. But with land, it's
Yeah,
really transactional to a certain
yeah,
degree, right?
absolutely.
But I want to know how you run your business on such a skeleton crew with just one VA, because obviously I'm doing it wrong because I have a much bigger,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
You're
Much bigger
probably doing better than
overhead.
me, so I don't like that.
Yeah.
Not that I don't like the fact that you're doing better than me. I don't like the fact that I'm spending a lot of money. You know what I mean? It could be
yeah,
doing the
yeah.
same thing.
Yeah, you're the boss. I'm just the employee, right? So, how I do it is there are 6 steps of process flipping land. The first one is market selection. Second is how to make offers. The market selection is easy. I can get it done within 30 minutes. How to make offers, I can get it done within 2 hours, 1 hour and a half. That's 2 hours in, right?
Yeah.
And after that, I just send out the mailers, and a guy calls. When a guy calls, I start to call them back. That costs majority of my time. And then when I decide to buy a land, I send it to the realtor. The realtor close on it, and the title company close on it, and the realtor list it and get it sold. I don't even need to do nothing. So you look at this whole process. Where did your time go? Majority is I just talk to the sellers. That's about it.
Let's talk about market selection, man. I mean,
Yeah.
we go through this analytics as far as market selection. Are you
Mhm.
doing the same thing as like what? Just walk us an overview on how you select a market.
Yeah, it depends on what strategy you are in. If you are in infill lots investing, which is what I'm doing right now, meaning you see a lot of houses in the middle of it, there's a land that's called infill lots,
Right.
right? And the raw land is you drive around, you see nothing but Frank and land, right? Just
Could
kidding.
be out there. I could be out there.
Yeah, so but you see nothing but land, that's called raw land. And I don't do raw land much. I do infill lots. So as far as market selection, I don't choose the major market as well. Some like if you're in Texas, I don't target Dallas. If you're in Florida, I don't target Orlando. I just target about 2 hours away from that major city. And
Okay.
then those ones are in the growth path, and I can still be able to sell it very quick.
Hmm.
Got it.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's interesting, man. So when you price it out, and you figure out what the market value on, especially because
Mhm.
I live in Texas and it's a non-disclosure state, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
luckily I have MLS on pretty much most of them. But whenever we buy in other states and it's non-disclosure, we got to use, like Redfin and Zillow, and it's not an exact science. Um, not to get too much in the weeds, or we get as much as you want. How do you come
Mhm.
up with that market value for that lot?
Yeah, I did a interview with Joe McCall, and I
Yeah.
think you guys know him.
Yeah.
We did a step-by-step process on how to determine the value of the subdivision, and we just determined the value for price per acre for the particular subdivision, and then we offer about 40 to 55% on that market price.
Got it.
So
So you're
how do
going
you
as
know?
granular as
Yeah,
a subdivision. Like you don't
yeah.
go zip code or anything like that.
I used to mail zip code, but that's too large. Zip code
Yeah.
has a lot of subdivisions, right? And we just look at sold price. We don't look at any assessed value, and we just look at what's the sold price nearby in the same subdivision, and then we offer 40 to 55%.
Or that's your initial offer? Is that
Yeah,
usually your buy box?
yeah. So that's only the first layer. A second layer is after the call comes back. There are two type of people who call us. The first one is they're ready to sell, and second type is they're ready to curse, right? So they, they,
That's true,
they
man. That's direct mail.
so they call us and curse on me. I curse them back. Kind of fun. And if they accept my offer, I negotiate again.
Do you go straight? Do you answer every single call? Do you go into a voicemail and then you call them back?
Yeah, normally I don't call. I don't take calls live.
Got
Go
it.
to the voicemail. I call them back. Yeah.
I think one of the largest challenges for like newer investors is when anytime a coach tells them just offer 40, 55, but what, isn't that too low? Like, isn't that too low? Aren't they going to get mad about that? Right.
Yes,
And,
they are.
and your solution is if you're going to get cursed at that's it. Sorry. Like, is that your response to them?
Absolutely. So if you cannot take it, I guess the corporate route might be for you, because in order to do any type of business, think about it. You will get people to like you. The fear of success is real. I never understood it because sometimes I was like, "What people fear of a success?" Because you get a lot of eyeballs and people criticize you no matter what you do, right? So think about Jesus, and he does all the things for us, and everybody is hating him in his age. So whatever you do, you will get cursed. I'm sure you have haters, Frank. You have haters, Mike.
I got a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Everybody loves me. I don't know what y'all are talking about. At least everybody's shielding me from the real hate. There's probably like a Reddit out there. Like everybody hates Frank Chen. Probably.
Right.
You're like, right.
Hey, when this is becoming about bashing me, man, I'm on rural land.
We all love you, Frank. Everybody loves you. Don't worry.
All right. Bullshit.
We love you.
But that's true. I think that's such a good, piece of advice there is, I like how you said corporate America is free. Like how much, shit do you eat, working at a corporate job, making someone else rich? And you just kind of glaze over that. But when you kind of pursue your own future and your own like business, it's almost like your tolerance for that is like so low. And it makes no sense. Like when you're pursuing something you're passionate about, you're not willing to fight for yourself. But when you're working for someone else, you're willing to fight for them. It's like, that's crazy.
I guess a lot of people just so they value their other people's opinion so much. And they think, oh, this guy really care about me. But they're wrong. Nobody care about you unless your family, and they talk about you, and the next minute they forget about who you are. So, but you in your mind, you'll be like, "Oh, everybody's looking at me, so I better not doing things wrong."
I mean, that's so on point, man. And plus, I think most people are just scared of rejection. Period. Right.
Yeah.
And being in this business, you're rejected 95% of the time, so it just calluses you up. Especially when you're like, for us, we do a cold outreach, which is like people are always screaming at us or hating on us. And I don't blame them to a certain degree. Right. But it just calluses you up and then you don't have a problem. Like when normal stuff for me, and I think that applies to you guys too. I don't have a problem asking for what I want because I expect it to be a no. What I mean? I'm like, it's okay. At least I asked.
Yeah, absolutely.
One thing before we go more into the land side, because I know listeners are really curious about that side of the business. You've been in the States now for how long?
Been in States for about 11 years.
11 years. Okay.
Yeah.
Kudos to you and learning the language. I have people who lived here for 15, 20, and they still don't speak very much English.
Dude, that
blows my mind. And there's no problem with that. Not
I'm
saying
Asian
English is
too,
the
by
best
the way.
language.
If you didn't know, Ray. I'm half Asian. My mom
Ray's like, nah, he's Mexican.
You don't look like though.
I know, but I was wondering, and my mom has been in the States for, I don't know, 30, 40 years, and her English is still the same. It's
blows my mind. So well, my mother-in-law too, but thank God my son's going to learn Korean because of that, because she doesn't speak a lick of English, very
Right.
little. But
Right.
to your point, being here 11 years ago, you mentioned being homeless, which means, you know, you had the language barrier, probably didn't speak a lot of English then. Coming to us States, we're pretty unforgiving to foreigners. Honestly, 11 years ago, Chinese people not really treated that great. We're a minority as well, believe it or not. Don't let my English fool you. I'm an ABC, right? But for you being here and kind of pulling yourself out of that, tell us a little bit kind of like, what was the mindset coming into the States? I'm assuming it's one of those, I can't afford to fail, but you also had a huge hill you got to climb up. Give us a little mindset of like, you know, year one, you being here. What was the biggest challenge for you?
I think the initial thoughts was I want to change my life because my dad was a taxi driver and my mom was selling tickets on the bus. So we didn't make a lot of money. So I want to change my life. We have a comfortable living in China, but I was like, is this all it is? You know, and is there anything else I can do? And then all of a sudden, they talk about America. You can have the opportunity to go there. So I came here, and I started to just talking, right? So I wish I can still get hold of the people who I talked to when I first came here, because I have no idea what I talk about. I just keep talking, right? And but I just now nonstop practice, right?
Yeah.
About half a year later, I start to understand some of the English language, and I think the biggest difference is this: I have been studying why people stay poor and why people get rich all of a sudden, right? That's a mindset change. So I was wiping floors. I was a janitor for a couple of months. I was earning about $800 per month. And after about 4 months later, after I discovered this secret, I was earning $10,000 per month. So what is the secret? The secret is there are three kind of people. The first kind of people is complainers. They never satisfied with their life. They blame everyone else but themselves. We have a president like this, couldn't even figure out things wrong or right, and or anything.
Your English is better than his.
Right. And
oh man, I love this. This is so good.
That's the first type of people, right? And of course, you don't want to be like him. You don't want to stay nearby those type of people.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'll be influenced. Sometimes we feel like, oh, there's no way I get influenced by that guy. But Tom Curl, my mentor, tell me to not get influenced by the people around you. You're just like trying to walk around the beach without trying to not get your feet wet. Yeah, but anyway, so that's the first type of people. Second type of people is they think they achieved their American dream already. They have a house, they have a car, so they're satisfied, right? They are very happy. I have a Chinese friend who told me respectfully, he said, you cannot teach a pig to fly. That's very hard because the pig don't want to fly. So you cannot motivate a person who don't want to move forward, right? But the third type of people is the rich people. And I've been studying them forever and try to find out what's a huge difference between them and the normal people. And this is what I found out is they have the ability, they have the special ability. They all have this ability, by the way, of trying to, they already know what's going on in the future and they grab it to the present and act as if it's already happened. And the key thing is already happened, not it will happen. So think about Steve Jobs. He didn't tell his team, hey, team, just design an iPhone that's better than BlueBerry. I don't care how it looks, just better, right? He didn't say that. He tell his team, design me a phone with one button, and I don't need anything else. That one button has to control everything else. So he saw that in his mind in the future. He grabbed the future to the present and acts as if it's already accomplished. So I'm sure that you guys not come from a rich family, but how did you arrive here? That's because you had a dream and you just act towards that dream and as if it's already going to happen or it's already happened.
Bro, that's so powerful. I think you nailed it as far as that's concerned. I mean, and you when you level up your frequency, your vibration, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's sometimes, when you go back and hang with people that you used to hang with, you see the difference. You can't see it on a day-to-day basis, but it's kind of like if you ever move away or something like that, and you go back and your group of friends are doing the exact same thing,
Right.
and you've already evolved, but in the moment, you can't see that you're evolving. Does
Yeah.
that make sense to you guys? Do you guys ever experience that?
Absolutely. I still have friends in China. They're earning about $500 per month right now. So it's hard to compare. I don't want to say I feel superior, but the change is huge.
No, it's just a change. It's
Yeah.
not, I don't think
Yeah.
anything superior or
Yeah.
inferior, right? It's just
Yeah.
that you've just evolved into something different, and that attracts something different as well.
I think it's okay to say that you're better than them. And I don't
No.
think that, I think it's safe.
I don't think
you could say, you could say that.
I still have great friends and they're great guys. I mean, but some people are
Right.
just happy with what they have and some people just aren't, right?
Yeah.
And I
Absolutely.
think that who we associate with is people that are always trying to be strivers and push into something else. And that's
Yeah.
just a different frequency.
I can say I'm better looking. That's about it. But
You better look
I
into it.
can't say that. See, I have to say the things I can say, which is, here's the thing. I think there's too much apology that goes behind your success. Like if I'm doing better than somebody, it's because I pulled myself, I did all these things and I try to help someone and they continue to fall victim as due to their circumstances, right? Look at your circumstances. You came here, nothing, homeless, and immediately were able to tell, like, I don't want to surround myself with people who are happy with where I don't want to be.
yeah.
And if you're going to rise above that, you're essentially going to have to be better than them.
Yeah.
That's just how it is.
Or
And
better
people
than that. Yeah.
yeah, if
It's
people
hard for me to say better than them.
you know what?
Because everybody's on their journey, right? On their thing. I don't know. I just can't say that. To me, I can't say that. But you're better than what you used to be yourself, right? Because that's the only thing that really matters.
Yeah.
Wow,
And
man,
one
you're such a
thing,
nice guy. You guys are you're such a nice guy, Mike.
I'm not a nice guy. I'm a dick.
and then another thing is what you find out is once you improve yourself a lot, you tend to lose a lot of old friends, and some of your
Yeah.
old friends actually say bad things behind you. So I was kicked out in I came to America for school. I was kicked out twice because what I thought used to be the good friend, they reported me. They said he's an international student and he's doing business right now. So he told the president of the school, and the school president came to me and said, someone reported you. So I searched who reported me, and that was my best friend. I mean,
Damn.
you never know, right? So
You don't.
yeah.
Plus, I think Asians are like that. I can say that because I'm half Asian. Like in my in
Yeah.
my community, it's like crabs in a barrel. You know what I mean? They're happy when you're around, but if you're doing too much success, they're not overly that happy behind your back.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Again, I'm gonna just have to breathe on that van, and I think it's just an interesting topic we're discussing here. And that's another thing too, is that your close people are observing you. You're gonna people have fan your flame. They're gonna try to put it out. But the bottom line is that we're on our own life journey. At the end of the day, yes, it takes a team, it takes a village.
Yeah.
Everybody's here to support each other. At the end of the day, where we go is ultimately our decision, right?
Yeah.
And at the same time, people can't get on board with that, and we evolve past them. And like you said, my circles constantly change. I always tell my wife, I'm a terrible friend. I don't really care about these kind of things because I have a very clear vision I'm pursuing. Anybody who wants to distract me from that, we'll keep you at an arm length distance, but that also protects us from slowing down, right?
True.
Complacency can easily be bred into your life through people who are complacent in their life. I think it's one of the most contagious things is complacency, especially if you hit that next level. Okay, fine, I've leveled up. Now I'm with the other rich people. There's a level of complacency there too. Would you agree?
You're right.
Right?
Yeah. Different
so
levels.
It's like, so there's different levels to this, and I feel like you're constantly leveling up, right? So let's kind of go back to so you're going from $800 janitor, now you're doing 10,000. Obviously, it was a big mindset shift for you, right? What was your motivating factor? Did you have a kid then? Were you married at the time? Like, did you have any other kind of pressure factors that were influencing kind of your trajectory?
Right. And I remember John Damon. Is that his name? The Sharks?
Damon John. Yeah.
Damon John. Okay, sorry, John. I got your name.
John Damon. It's cool. Tomato.
Whatever. All right. So he wrote a book, The Power of Broke. I think that's a mindset behind it. And a lot of time when you're broke, you feel so motivated to change. And a lot of time we feel the pain, but people forget to use the pain to motivate them. So how much do you hate your life? And if you don't take action, that means you don't hate your life so much yet. And if you hate your life so much, you're willing to do anything. And that use the pain to motivate you is a much more powerful source.
So you have students that come into your door every day, every week, every month. I know you're on socials and things like that. When you have students who you can identify their pain isn't big enough, what advice do you have to them to kind of get their butt moving?
I don't know, because it's hard to motivate a person who is satisfied with their life. But I guess the minute they reach out, that means they're somewhat not very happy with their current situation.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
So I teach people about negotiation as well. And sometimes, how do you make the seller have more pain? And so there's pain. People try to do things to avoid pain. There's people do things to try to pursue the pleasure. And you want to make the pain worse by making it longer. So for example, I tell you, okay, you experience pain right now. Okay, what about you take this pain for another 3 years? How do you feel? Right. And you make the pleasure by making it more details, right? So let's talk about, if you say I want to earn more money, that's not detailed enough. So what about $1 million right now in front of you? You're counting it, smell it, and that's more detailed, and you feel more pleasure. So make the pain longer, make the pleasure more detailed. Normally they'll feel more motivated.
Yeah,
I want to highlight something you said right there that's super, super, super important. And I've seen this done with multiple exercises where you go, it's like vision extraction with one of my groups, Leadership Boardroom. You guys know Sean McClaskey and stuff. So we always say, like, what do you want? We'll say, I want to make more money. It's like, well, what is that? Like, how do you go deeper, right? Like, oh, I want to, like, what does money do for you? Oh, money is going to allow me to pay my bills. Okay, what is, oh, it alleviates that stress month to month. Oh, it also allows me, and then it allows you to go deeper and deeper. I think a lot of people who are listening, that's usually their remark. Why do you want to do real estate? Financial freedom. What does financial freedom mean to you? And then they're just not willing to go deep enough, right?
Yeah. 7 whys or something like that.
Yeah, the deeper why, I think, is really a powerful exercise people can do, especially if they're not feeling motivated or feeling that long enough pain that Ray was mentioning. I think there's a lot of what we just talked about here, like, to think about, right? An exercise to do right now, you can do that. Like, why don't I feel enough pain? Whether that's losing weight, or that's making that next phone call, or you have a whole bunch of list of sellers who have called you in your voicemail, and all you have to do is pick up the phone, and they're not willing to do that. So find that pain, y'all. What would it be like if you just didn't make that 10 grand this month? Or what if you did, and then focus on the pleasure? I love that. I love that.
Yeah. It's just the beginning is kind of hard. Once you get the momentum, it's hard to stop.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, once you have a little bit of that's the key about momentum, right? I mean, it's so difficult it's almost like, you ever hear that analogy of an airplane where it takes 70% of the fuel just to get up, but once they get in flight, they could pretty much travel halfway around the world on the rest of it, right? And that's almost the same with starting your own business. It's like, it's really front loaded a lot of the work, and once you get that momentum, it could really catapult you to that next level much easier.
Absolutely.
I'm curious, Ray. Obviously coming here. Were you married at the time when you came here?
No.
So did you find your wife here?
Yes.
I don't know why you say found. I don't think that's how
that
relationships work. Right?
I discovered her.
You discovered her, right?
Were you already making money, or were you broke?
Yeah. Were you making money at the time, or were you kind of on the process of kind of building this business up when you met her?
I was actually homeless.
And you were actually when you were homeless.
Yeah. And I was living in the car, and it was winter, and I said, you should go back to your dorm. She was a student. So, and she said, no, I just feel better, in the car with you. So,
wow,
that's the moment I know, she will be my wife, because she is not looking at my money. She's definitely not a gold digger. There's no gold right here, right?
Just rocks, a whole bunch of dirty rocks.
Yeah. Just a lot of land,
Yeah. Hey.
Incredible bad.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, as you have built out your business, right? A lot of times people who are trying to go into investing and maybe their significant other isn't in the same industry, like, was she a supportive person through this process?
Yeah, very supportive, very supportive. Yeah,
And is she a part of your business currently, or she? I know you have a son, right?
yeah.
You have two kids.
I have 3 kids.
Holy moly! All right.
Yeah, and but they're not involved. Just me.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So even though you didn't have that support there from it, this was a big enough goal and dream of yours that you pursued. What is the natural next step for you in terms of like where you want to take this? Like what is success? What's that next level of success for you? Now you're doing, pretty much 7 figures a year. What's
Mm.
that next level for you?
He's doing high 7 figures. Let's just throw that out there because you've already put it on the internet, so we could say it, right?
Oh,
He went from homeless to, I think I saw 800,000 net.
Yeah,
Is that correct?
yeah,
I don't know if that was what timeline that was, but what a jump, right?
yeah.
And that's
So
somebody that's just been in the States for what you said, 11 years,
about 11 years. But last year I made about $800 profit. Last year, uh,
$800.
800,000. Sorry.
Got
like $800. Can't brag about that, Ray. Can't brag about that.
Yeah, your show's name is the most
Real time.
failure.
Yeah. That's the title for today's episode. But yeah, so 800,000. So, what are you saying you're going to be doing, over the next 3 to 5 years? Is there a retirement number? Is there a magic number, or is just the moon is the goal? Like where do you see Ray in the next 3 to 5 years now that you've hit this pretty, impressive goal?
I already hired some marketing agency, try to kind of help my coaching business. That's one of my goal, to help more people do what I do.
awesome.
Also, I want to use the profit and generate from the land flipping. I want to build more houses. So I want to buy a land and just build a house on there, and then just keep the house. So eventually I don't have to work, but I will work for sure. There's no retirement, right?
So you're going into development,
Yeah, I try to.
construction.
I'm not gonna sell it. I just keep it myself.
Mhm.
And as far as land flipping, I want to do bigger deals, bigger parcels. I already hired a mentor myself and have him teach me, because he buy a huge parcel, and then the first thing he does is sell the trees on it. And so, for example, he just bought the land for 105,000, and he sold the trees for 210,000.
Wow.
And he divide the land and sell it parts by parts. I was like, that's a lot better than what I do.
That's
So,
that's what I love about land, man. I mean,
yeah,
there's so many different ways of
yeah.
monetizing it and the utility of it. Let me ask you about your students. When you see a student coming in, is there anything that you can see? And I think Frank touched upon this, that you're like, hey, this person's going to kill it, or this person is going to not.
Mm. Yeah. So basically, the speed they take action, right? So when I tell them to do something and they said, okay, I have sometimes teach 1 week in the, we teach on Monday and the next class will be the next Monday. So normally the most successful ones get it done within a day. The kind of the one delay, they'll be doing it on Sunday night.
Mhm.
It's just like doing homework, right? So
Yeah, that's fantastic. So action.
yeah, the speed of action and the massive action.
You know, for those who are kind of on the fence that are like, hey, I need a coach. Obviously, you've invested in plenty of coaches, right? What are the pros and cons from your experience hiring coaches, good coaches, bad coaches? What advice do you have to people who are kind of on the fence trying to make that decision?
Yeah, you definitely need a coach, but you have to find the right one. The one that keep doing deals, not just like a professor and teach you what to do, and they never done any deal themselves. And I would try to avoid those. You can see by how many deals they are doing right now. Another thing I would say is how successful his student is, right? So does he have any success students? I think that's very important to me as well. And be precisely detailed of what you want to do, because what you try to do might be a huge category. Sometimes people say, I want to do house flipping, but in house flipping, there are a lot of stuff. There's wholesaling, there's buy and hold. For land, it's the same thing. There's infill lots, there's rural land, there's subdividing. Which one you want, right? So choose one particular one and go with it. That's a huge mistake I made. I first paid a guy $70,000 for a land coach. I thought he would tell me about flipping, and he taught me about how to sell the land on terms. I was like, that's the last thing I want to do. Right? Yeah.
Really? Okay. Because I know there's some land programs coaching out there that's where their model is creative finance for land, right?
Yeah.
And
you don't like that model.
What's your opinion on that? And why is it that you don't like that?
Yeah, I think that's a waste of time. And then you get a lot of tire kickers. The people who teach those is kind of like find an easy way out, because it's really easy to buy a land for like $1,000 to $1,000 and try to sell on terms, but it's extremely hard to sell. When you try to post your ad on Facebook, there are a lot of people ask you, is this available? And then they're gone. They're not available anymore. The people who ask you. And they're never gonna, the people who will buy the land on terms, so is very few. And when they actually pay the first month payment, the next month they may be gone, right? Yeah, so that's why I think you waste a lot of time doing that.
So you're chasing people, and it's probably death by 1,000 paper cuts too.
Absolutely, and the Facebook will give you a hard time too, and
marketplace.
Yeah.
Do you close on all your properties, or do you wholesale some of them?
I just close everything. Cash has power, right? And you can get more discount.
What do you do with those that are kind of like on the fringe? Because we do anything that's in our buy box, we close, but we have some that's like a little bit outside our buy box. We're like, well, we'll just go ahead and wholesale that. Or, you know what I mean? What do you do with those? You just let them go, or?
I will still buy it if I'm not sure about the deal. I just offer lower. So, for example, I just bought the land a couple months ago. There's absolutely no sold nearby in the 10 years period. No sold. So I bought it for $2,000, and I can afford to lose, right? And for $2,000, and I sold it for $10,000. So, if you're not sure, just offer a price that you can afford to lose.
Yeah, I've done that too. I bought it. I was like, I can't. I mean, I might as well, right? Yeah. So, we've already talked about obviously some of your wins, and you had some massive ones last year. Let's talk about like some of your losses, man. Like, what was one that stands out?
I never lose money in land flipping, but what I did was I did make a lot of mistakes. I make mistakes earning money. So, for example, I bought a land. It's a wetland. I didn't know. Otherwise, I will get my towels and take a shower there, right? But I didn't know that was a wetland. So I bought it, and I bought it for $4,000. I tried to sell it. There was an offer came in for 18,000. I was very happy. And then the next day he said, "This is wetland. We have to cancel the contract." So this go on and off for like 5 times. The fifth time, I was like praying, kneeling. I was like, help me find a buyer, who don't know about anything about wetland, right? So maybe that's the wrong prayer.
Find me an ignorant person. Bring me an ignorant person.
Find me a bigger fool. Right?
Please God.
So here you go. This guy bought it for 15,000. I don't know if he knows, but he bought it, and I think maybe he wants to shoot ducks on there, right? But yeah.
But some people don't care. I mean,
here's what's something like one thing that always fascinated me about land, because we know a mutual person in the land space where I worked with him for about 3-4 years, got to really understand his business model and the environmental aspects of it. Right, trees is one, but like people who do like RTVing or ATVing, or they go hunting, or what percentage of your buyers typically are using it for like recreational purposes, or is it more they're looking to like build a house there and live there?
Yeah, because I specialize in infill lots, so most of my buyers are trying to build on there.
Mm,
and build a house. And the recreational buyers are typically target raw land.
gotcha.
Yeah.
On the infield side, though, are you, because we'll do that. We'll look at it and we're like, okay, is there any new construction going on in that area? You know what I mean? Does that even matter to you whenever you're looking at it? You're like, well, this is a pretty established neighborhood. There's really
Mhm.
no new construction going on here.
Mhm.
Is that something that you're like, that's not going to work for me?
Not very much. What I pay attention to the most is if there is similar lots so nearby. So if the lots is a slope land, maybe it's not even buildable. And I just want to see if there's similar sold for slope land, and I want to see how much he sold it for, and then I will offer a huge percentage off, right? So that's more important to me, and the proven concept, right? So for example, I used to flip iPhones, and I buy an iPhone, and how do you know how much this iPhone worth, right? So even there's a crack on the screen, you can sell at a certain price. You just have to see the exact same model, exact same problem, which is the cracked cracked screen, and see how much it was sold for. And then you offer a percentage of that, and then you can pretty much sell it that price. So I apply the same concept to the land, and it worked out pretty well.
Another question I have, and this is really more self-serving than anything else. We have found that, in the beginning of the year, we were just killing it. And then the appraisals came out. And then all of a sudden you're like, everybody wants the appraisal price, which, I could understand that. Right.
Mhm.
Is that something that affected your business at all? Or did you find a way to get around that?
Yeah, so the thing about land is, I think for houses the same, but a lot of sellers are pretty aware of how much their house is worth, but maybe they're not very aware of how much their land is worth. And
Mm.
the sellers sometimes the only thing they know is, oh, my land worth assessed value, but the market price is always higher than the assessed value, right? It's for land at least,
Sometimes. Yeah.
right? For land it's all the time, right? So normally if I buy a land, I try to target below that assessed value, and if they want the quick cash, normally they give me a big discount.
Hmm.
So that's how it works in land.
That's interesting.
Interesting.
I didn't know that.
So you think, and your students are most of your students coming from the house side and going into the land side, or are they just completely fresh?
Yeah, most likely they don't know, they have done a lot of research on houses, and they came to the land. They think is easier, right? It is
Oh, it
easier.
is easier.
Yeah.
You guys are both in the housing space. So kind of this continues to like baffle me is why isn't there like everybody who I know who started in houses, who has gotten into land has said the leads are easier to work with, the sellers are easy to deal with, the asset itself is much easier to manage because there's not a physical property on it. I've seen all the marketing, the hooks, all the angles. Why aren't more house flippers getting involved with land? Like, what is their
There
biggest
are.
limiting?
It is.
They're coming
There
in
are.
quite a bit right now.
There
What is
are.
there?
Yeah. So we belong to the same mastermind. We had a mastermind last month in Jacksonville. So I went there and tried to ask some questions. And in the audience, we have two persons. The first one specialized in hiring, so he hired people for companies.
I remember him. Yep.
Yeah, and the other is a mail service company. So they print the mails and send out to the owners of the land of the property, right? So they both said this couple of years, especially recently, all the land company reach out and asking me to hire more people for them. And that's the first one. And second one is the mail house said we have a whole lot more land flippers now trying to mail out to the landowners.
Other than it being easier, what do you feel like there's any other indicators, factors out there that are contributing to this more of this interest now into land?
Yeah, less competition, and also the barrier of entry is very low. So you can buy land basically at any price range you target. So for example, when you first started, you don't have a lot of money. Maybe you have a few thousand, and you can find markets that the land worth a few thousand.
Mhm.
And if you have like $1 million, you can find a market that land worth $1 million. So, it's different levels. But for house, you buy a house, how much is it?
30, 40 up to 100 at a minimum in the lower markets, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I think also, I think a barrier entry, it is low. And I love that what you said, because it's 100% true. But wholesaling land is significantly more difficult than it is wholesaling houses. You know what I mean? Your buyer pool just isn't as much. Right? So, for us, especially when you get up in a little bit higher level of market value land, it's best to close it.
Yeah. So I see people they just market their contract on the MLS for land.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen that too.
It's legal in some states.
Yeah.
So if you had obviously, I don't want to ask you like a dumb question such as, if someone's getting started in real estate, should they choose houses or land? You're definitely going to say land, right?
Yeah, I'll say houses.
You're going to say land, right?
Get frustrated and come here.
Yeah, because I feel like you could probably save someone a lot of time who's listening to this, where it's like, the HGTV lifestyle, I want to own an asset, I want to have a tenant and all these things, I guess if you're not really into seller finance or creating air quote cash flow using this asset, but that's important for somebody, what kind of advice do you have to them if they're trying to build up steady income versus I have to flip these to create the cash for myself? Like what advice do you have to them?
Absolutely. Just like animal lovers. Some people love cows, some people love sheep, right? So if you want the sheep, then just sell more cows to buy the sheep, right? So what is the ideal sheep for cash flow? Apartments. You get apartments, you get 10 doors instead of one house. This is my point of view, but you can sell more land and use the cash to buy apartments. And that's the easy way, right? So land is supposed to be the cash cow to produce the cash, right? And use the cash to buy the thing that actually generate cash flow.
That is 100%. Although I advise everybody to stay out of land.
Especially in Austin, Texas, and wherever else he's buying.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll be honest, like one of my only stint in land, I'm almost embarrassed to bring this up, but we're going to keep it real, is using myself as a case study for one of the people who teaches land, has coaching programs. I went into his program. We created the LLC, got the marketing, found our markets, did the initial research, just like you did, very quick to do. Everything was mostly public information. And we sent on our mailers, and believe it or not, I think we had like 30, 35 people reach back out to us. And then I had a business partner at the time who had zero interest in any of, like, zero background, not interest, zero background. And we just failed to make the phone calls. Right. So like it died on the vine. But what I was really impressed by is the response rates to that direct mail. It was incredible. And again, we did the templates where we automatically offered 30 to 40%. So these people were actually interested. I should have just sold those leads to someone who was actually serious. But it still blows me away about how much interest is actually there. So conversions, I think with houses, it's like sub 1% in terms of response rates.
I think it's 0.05 the last time I checked, right?
What would you say land is currently?
1 to 5%.
Really?
5%.
1 to 5%.
1 to 5%.
Oh, where do you see 5%?
Yeah, if you offer a lot more, you get whole lot more calls. So I did experiment.
Offer more.
Yeah, I did an experiment where I offered 20 times more, than what I supposed to offer. So I supposed to offer about $2,000. I offer about 35,000, just to see, just to prove my student you can still get deals when you mail the wrong offer. So I sent 3,500 mails. I got 500 calls.
Holy! Just because you just higher price point.
Yeah, I got 7 people call me at the same time.
What was the market value of the land?
About 5 or 6,000.
5 or 6, and you're offering them 35 or something like that.
Yeah, but that was intentionally.
Yeah.
I got 11 deals out of the 3,500 mailers, and I bought all of them for 1,000, 1,100, 1,500, something like that.
I guess I'm confused by that. So you offered higher but gave them less?
Yes. So I just try to do an experiment with my student, because he said there's no way you can, do that. You offer a price and you drop down for significantly. You cannot do that. I said you can. You don't believe me, so I just mail like that. I did 20 times more than initial offer out.
What an interest! That is such an
So
interesting approach. I love that.
I'm assuming that you're trying to do an exercise because they were so worried about their offer or what that offer
Yeah,
has to be perfect and stuff like that. You're like, it doesn't have to be perfect.
doesn't matter.
Check this out. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, it doesn't matter at all.
I think
Yeah.
you just
Get them
blew a
on the
lot of
phone.
people's minds by doing that right now.
Yeah.
So I have a friend who's been doing this for a couple of years now. He went through a coaching program doing land, and he's focusing on, I wouldn't say rural, but maybe 20 miles out of the main city areas. He's been struggling with direct mail. He's just now starting SMS, right? I think he just started last week. What have you seen in that, like in terms of response rates, direct mail versus SMS? Which one's better? Are you doing both?
I think he got it backwards. When you struggle with text message, you should go direct mail. But if he's struggling with direct mail, he just need to be more consistent. So the money is in the follow up. You just have to mail more, right? So that's all the trade of all my successful students. They just mail more than $10,000 per month, or more than 10,000 pieces per month. If you keep doing that, you'll have more deals.
Got it. So how many counties do you recommend, or how many areas do you recommend that your students start off with?
Start with one, and there's power in focus. Yeah.
Are we talking about like at an MSA, or are we talking about like a zip code, or
one county?
One county. Okay.
Yeah.
And what are you looking for typically in terms of volume in that county, right? When you're looking up for sales in the area, is there a magic number, or is it just as long as there's activity there, it's worth giving it a shot?
Yeah. At least have in the past 3 months, you have to at least have about 50 or 60 sold for that county for land, right?
And a site like Zillow is good enough to kind of just get that initial data.
Absolutely. Zillow, Redfin is good to go.
Say, man, that's what I love about land, man. You can just use it's right there for you. You just
Yeah.
got to go do it.
Got to answer the phone call, man.
And answer. That's the one thing about land. I think people is going to be the hiccup for most people is they got to pick up the phone and you got to
know what houses.
Yeah, true. Is there any way of automating that process? I know, like, one of the number one questions I always people is like, is there a way to do this business without with you avoiding to take those phone calls? Is there a solution?
Sure. You just hire a acquisition manager and pay him out of commissions.
And what does that typically look like?
You hire a guy and don't pay him the base salary, just pay him out of the commissions, and he's very motivated to take calls, right? And then after you close the deal, give him 10%, 15%, and you're good to go.
Dude, I have a U.S. acquisitions guy, but I have 2 people from the Philippines, and they close deals as well. You know what I mean? It's like you could have virtual VAs closing deals on land, which is unbelievably difficult to do in houses, because it's so transactional, right? And you got to process and stuff like that. So as far as that's concerned on land, the sales process is so much easier.
Much easier, yes.
Ray, I'm so glad you were here because I feel like, with what you've put together for yourself over these last 11 years is really a product of your own efforts, your own resilience. I think a lot of the success you've earned or you've received is what you've earned. So I want to commend you for that, man.
It's impressive.
I wish we had the opportunity to dive deeper into the business, but I try to get out of the minutia of, okay, here's an A to Z of how to create a land flipping business. That's not what this podcast is about. It's about how he began and where he got and the process of getting there, right? There's a lot of power in that. The education's out there. But with that being said, where can people, get more information or join your communities or figure out, how to get under Ray's belt while he kind of coaches them? Like, where can people get more information about you, brother?
Yeah, I post a lot of content on Instagram and TikTok, and my Instagram is called Virtual Flip Land, and TikTok the same thing. I just post it daily. So if you have any questions, just let me know, and happy to help.
We'll put a link obviously in the show notes. But yeah, man, hey Ray, super impressive. What a great story. You know what I mean? What a fantastic story that you came here not long ago, homeless, found the woman of your dreams when you're homeless. I mean, that's obviously a key keeper, and then grew this business and helping other people grow their dreams, right? Yeah. It's amazing, dude. So super commendable, man.
Thank you, Mike.
I'm always all about the immigrant story. And I think if I always can like impress upon people at the end of these episodes, it's like, I've been like I'm not blown away. I've been like just bombarded with people who just are just buried by their own excuses, and their outcomes are not even remotely close to your outcome. Right. And you've been able to just be a kind of a pillar of light, an example for these, excuse givers. And I'm sorry, I got to be real here. Like you're on here listening here and you have not reached that level of success that you want to be. And you've been given these opportunities and you've squandered them. Understand that this is solely your doing, right? Like I love having guests on like Ray here because it's proof that you're not a product of your circumstance. You can change it by changing what's between your two ears, right? Surrounding yourself with the right people, being motivated, taking quick action. I think there's a theme here. Everybody we've had on so far, week after week after week, it's the same thing. And I hope by the time you guys hear this, you're willing to take that action. Ray is a product of that. And I think it's really powerful to see, a living proof. So thank you so much for sharing your story with us today, Ray. And I think there's a lot of value that people can be received from just listening to this today.
Thank you, Frank. I have a last book to recommend, and that book changed my life. I listened to it more than 500 times when I was a janitor. I listened to that book about 8 times a day for 4 months. So that is a little book. It's called Not Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Everybody was thinking that. It's like, it must be that one.
You lost me.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Not one of those guys.
It's called The Science of Getting Rich.
The Science of Getting Rich.
Yeah.
Do you remember who it was by? Like who the author of that book is?
It's an old guy. I forgot his name. It's not.
So hold on. You listened to it 500 times? Whatever, how many 100 times?
Yeah.
Wow. Really?
Yeah. So I just want to see what. Sometimes I don't understand what they mean, but
I'm gonna get this book. Usually, when people recommend books at masterminds, I immediately go to Amazon because it's so quick. But it's by Wallace D. Wattles.
Here you go.
The Science of Getting Rich. Thank you for that recommendation. I'm gonna get it. See, I learned something new.
Oh,
that's awesome.
Well, we talk for an hour, and you just learn something new.
Sorry.
Can't answer the phone.
I've had a great time with you, Ray. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. We're so excited to follow you on this continued journey. Definitely will be a follower on your social channels. I already get it on Facebook, so I really think it's stay consistent. I think you have a really incredible story to continue to share and lives to impact. Hopefully this platform gives you just a little bit more juice there as well. Be sure to follow Ray at Virtual Flipland. He's putting out content all the time. Great insight. And of course, write this down, The Science of Getting Rich. I'm sure there's going to be tons of nuggets in there that you guys can learn from. So again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Mike and I really appreciate you guys listening, participating. Let us know if you enjoyed, if there was a thing that Ray shared today that really just hit you differently. We'd love to know that. It really, fuels our fire as well. Until next time, take care, everybody. And thank you again. We'll talk to you next time. Peace.
So that's a wrap. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I hope you received value from this episode. If so, please share this podcast with your friends so we can help more people just like you. Also, hook up with us on Facebook, IG, and YouTube at Real Talks. That's REIL Talks. So until next time, keep it cool and keep it real.